Hi guys, welcome to your week 3 video. You should have turned in your annotated bibliographies on Sunday of week 2. So that was Sunday the 18th of February, and I am going to spend the week working on grading those. You guys are my only class that had something super major due this week, so hopefully I should be done within just the week. And of course, if that deadline changes, I will let you guys know. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna do video grading with those as well. With my video grading for your annotated bibliographies, I'm going to grade your annotated bibliographies and write comments on them on my own, and then I'm going to make videos based on the comments that I put down and just kind of going over like big points, because I want to try to keep those videos short, hopefully no more than like 5 minutes. So be on the lookout for all of that stuff, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what to do in week 3. I'm going to go over a new assignment this week, so hopefully you will stick around with this video to hear more about the research proposal. So if I go into the weekly assignments and go down to week 3, then you can see from just kind of like the summary of what's in the learning module that this week you guys will be reading chapter 6 in Perspectives on Contemporary Issues, and this chapter is called Writing a Synthesis and Documenting Sources. The reason that we're talking about synthesis and documenting sources is because you will have to start using in-text citations, and you'll have to start talking about how your sources are working together with each other. So some sources might be saying overlapping information, some sources might be saying contradictory information, and you want to start learning how to synthesize or get those sources talking to each other, basically. That's going to be the goal of a lot of what we talk about this week, because you're going to do it in your research proposal. So you have to learn how to do it before you can actually tackle the big stuff. So that's going to be the subject of the chapter. There's also a little lesson in week 3 that's all about a synthesis matrix, like what it is, some example synthesis matrices, and then your graded quiz is going to be kind of a bigger deal than last week. Last week was just multiple choice. This quiz is going to be you creating a synthesis matrix, reading 4 very short articles online that I link you to, and then writing 2 paragraphs showing me that you can synthesize source information. So the quiz is a lot longer. You have, I expect that it'll take you like a couple of hours maybe to do the quiz, so definitely don't wait until the last minute. Your quiz is due Wednesday of this week. That's the 21st. So make sure that you start your quiz, or if you're going to wait until Wednesday to do it, make sure you start it early, or go ahead and start it, the minute you're watching this video. If it's Monday, take a look at the quiz, because you can come to the quiz and you can save it, and you can come back to it. So I would go ahead and look at it right now. If for some reason you look at it and you can't get back in the quiz, just email me and I'll open it back up for you, but that should not happen. All right, so what I really want to talk to you guys about is your research proposal. So I'm going to go in to the week 3 learning module and pull up the research proposal guidelines. Somewhere in here. Okay, here is the research proposal assignment sheet and rubric, and I'm gonna just walk you through the basics of this assignment. So it's 100 points, or 10% of your final grade. You'll turn it in on Blackboard just like you've been turning in everything else. Essentially, the purpose of this assignment is to show me that you're thinking about your MLA project, to show me that you understand what you're going to be writing about, who you're going to be writing to, like who your audience is, maybe a little bit about your tone, your purpose for writing, and then showing me a sample of the type of writing you're going to do in your final paper for this unit. And the reason I want to see this stuff is because I want to be able to comment on your writing now before you do the full paper and say, okay, well, this is really working, or I think you need to make some changes here, so that you can get like low stakes comments on that information before you turn in your final paper, because I don't want you to turn in your final paper and it's all done incorrectly, or it's thought about, the logic isn't there or something like that, and then you lose major points. So that's the purpose of this assignment. I'm going to read through the prompt and then just kind of pause at various increments to talk more about what I'm reading. So now that you've come up with your annotated bibliography, and where that's like a list of your sources for your final paper, I want you to show me that you have an idea and a focus. In a 1,100 to 1,400 word document, so that's probably about 4 pages. I mean, it really depends on how much content you're going to provide, but it's maybe 3 to 4 pages. So create a document, MLA formatted, and this is your research proposal. Your proposal should begin with a narrative style discussion and analysis of the reason why you chose your primary sources that you're working with. So what that means is tell me in a narrative why you picked your source, your movie or your TV show. That might be something like, I want to be this profession one day, so I decided that I would like to analyze this movie, or I really love this movie, but I've always wondered if the profession is accurately portrayed. So just kind of talk about it. It's okay in this section of your research proposal to use the word I. For most of your research proposal, it's going to be fine to say, I'm doing this, because you're proposing your research. However, there is a section later on where you will not be allowed to use I, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so you're going to have this narrative discussion of why you chose the primary source that you're working with and why you've decided to focus on this specific profession or professional relationships or whatever it is that you're planning on analyzing. And then you're going to end that narrative with your research question and your thesis statement. So here you should relay your research question and present a narrowly focused thesis statement. And so we've talked about thesis statements before. You should understand the concept of thesis statements. If you're having trouble coming up with a thesis statement, do a couple things. Take a look at all the sample MLA papers that are in Blackboard. Take a look at the sample MLA research proposals that are here in this week. There's, I think, 4 of them in here. And see what people's thesis statements look like. Then take a look at the example research proposal that's linked here as well. Okay, so after you've given this introduction that's kind of like a narrative where you end with the research question and your thesis statement, then I want you to start a new paragraph that addresses the following questions. Who is your audience? So when you're going to write your final MLA paper, who are you writing to? And you don't want to just say, anyone who wants to read my paper, because that's just not how you identify audience, and you should know this by the things that you've learned in English 111. Or in some other English class, we identify audience very specifically. So you might say that my audience is students who want to be surgeons and think that everything on Grey's Anatomy is going to be what their life is like in the future. Maybe that's who you're writing to. Like you want to break the bubble. You want to burst their bubble or something like that. So who's your audience? Explain that. What is your purpose for writing? Explain that in more detail. Like that's going to go hand in hand with who is your audience. If you're saying my audience is students, well, why is your audience students? Well, your purpose is to burst their bubble of the glorified surgical lifestyle on TV or something like that. And then what I want you to talk a little bit about your research that you've done, the research that you still need to do. So what have you found so far? What are some of the most interesting sources? What are those sources kind of saying? You're essentially giving me a very quick rundown of your annotated bibliography. If you have changed your mind, like you do not have to use all of the sources that you said you were going to use in your annotated bibliography. And if you didn't put sources in your annotated bibliography that you now have found that will be very helpful, totally fine. You can change them out. You can talk about new sources. You don't have to, the annotated bibliography is old news. It's just something that you did to get to this step. How have you narrowed that research? So the research you've done before, have you kind of thrown some things out? Have you found some new things? How have you made changes there? And then I'm really curious also to know what you don't know. So what research do you still need to complete? What else are you looking for? And I want you to kind of explain that to me as well. So those are going to be maybe 2 paragraphs or possibly 5 paragraphs, because you could easily spend a paragraph talking about your audience, or maybe you could talk about your purpose and audience in the same paragraph, and then you can talk about your research in a new paragraph. It really just depends on how much information you have and how you want to organize your writing, and it's okay however you want to do it. If you want to have 3 separate paragraphs for each one of these things, that's also perfectly fine. Then you're going to move on to this final section in your research proposal, and that is part C here. So finally, your proposal should segue into a sample analysis. So this is a sample of what you're doing in your final MLA paper. A sample analysis of your primary source as it relates to your thesis statement, and a synthesis of at least 2 major secondary research sources that you will use in your essay. So I'm really looking for things you plan on using, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so what does that even mean? If you're reading this and you're like, huh? Well, it means that I want you to analyze your primary source and then support your analysis of what you're seeing with research. So let's say, going along this line of surgeon and Grey's Anatomy, because this is the example I think, let's say you are looking at the opening scene in the pilot episode of Grey's Anatomy where Meredith Grey, this might not be the opening scene, this might be a couple scenes into the pilot, where Meredith Grey shows up on her first day of work and realizes that last night at the bar, she had a lovely fling with her now boss, her surgical, the head honcho at where she's doing her new internship or whatever, her residency. And you're going to talk about that scene. Here's what I saw. You're not going to use I. This C right here, this is the section C that you cannot use I. So no I in this section. But I'm going to say I because it's just easier to talk about it. So what do you see on TV? You see Meredith Grey having an intimate relationship with one of the surgeons at the hospital where she's doing her residency. Now, what does this suggest? Well, this suggests that in hospitals, surgeons are, surgeons flirt with, all the girls that they see. Surgeons go out to the bars after surgeries. It suggests that surgeons don't get married and have, stable relationships. They just have there's a hookup culture in the surgical world. So that's what this is suggesting. That is your analysis. So when I say analyze your primary source, then that's what you're doing. You're showing me a scene from your movie or your TV show, and you're analyzing what it suggests about the profession. So based on what I'm seeing on TV, if I were someone from a different planet and I only could watch American television or whatever television you're looking at, this is what I would think this profession was all about. Or this is the impression that I would get if I were an alien watching this television show, right? That's your analysis. Okay, so then you're not done. It's not enough to just analyze. And again, y'all, this is just showing me a sample of your work. So this is what the final paper is going to be all about. Here's just 2-paragraph sample. So it's not enough to just analyze that primary source. You want to go into research. Okay, so in a new paragraph, after you've presented your scene and you've said what that scene suggests, then you're going to show some sources to support whether or not that suggestion is true. So if we say, oh, well, all surgeons, Grey's Anatomy suggests that all surgeons are promiscuous. Well, is that really true? Do surgeons actually go out to the bars and pick up girls after their tough surgeries? I don't know. Let's do some research and find out. And that's what your second paragraph is all about, is proving whether or not that suggestion is true. Okay. So that's this part, a synthesis of at least 2 major secondary research sources. So in your second paragraph, you're going to have at least 2 sources that help you support your argument. Yes, this is true. No, this is not true. This is not what it's all about, being a surgeon. Or yes, this happens way more often than you would think. And when I say a synthesis, I just mean that you want your sources to be talking to each other. So I want you to imagine as if your sources were all having coffee together, and you understand the belief that the claim your source is making and the claim that your other source is making, and what they would have to say. Would they agree with each other? Would they disagree with each other? Would they say, well, I agree with you on some points, but not on others? That is a synthesis, essentially. It's like a coffee talk with all of your sources. Okay, so like it says here, a synthesis is not a summary. So I don't want you to just summarize your sources. I want you to show how your sources are connecting together. A synthesis draws conclusions, it makes observations on, and it shows connections between 2 or more sources. Okay, so make sure that you really understand the concepts of synthesis. And of course you will if you read chapter 6 and if you read through the stuff in this weekly learning module. All right, so that's the goal of your research proposal. Now, again, there's 3 parts. There's an introduction, there's a research discussion, and there's a sample analysis. And then I do link you to an example here just in case you need it. Where I kind of highlight all of the various elements that you will find in your research proposal, that you should find in your research proposal. I have a note here. This is a sample, but it's not the right length, so it's a little bit shorter than yours needs to be. And so I kind of just, if you click on each one of these little comments here, it tells you which part of the research proposal I'm highlighting. So here's the reasoning for why I chose this. And then, down here's where I address who my audience is. I have a discussion of my purpose for writing. I explain my research process. Okay, so this is a sample for you to go ahead and read on your own and just take a look at. If you model your work after this sample, it's going to be great. Again, this sample is too short, but if your work looks like this, then you are going to do really well on your assignment. And then I have these example paragraphs down here. And don't forget, of course, you have to have a works cited page because you are talking about sources. One thing a lot of people do in their research proposal is forget to include their primary source on their works cited page. But don't forget, your TV show or your movie is also a source, so you want to make sure that you put that on your works cited page as well. I'm going to exit out of here and just kind of go back to the research proposal assignment sheet. I want to wrap this video up here in a couple minutes. Some things to just be aware of. Make sure you've got MLA formatting. Make sure you've got a works cited page. I do take off points if you don't have one. Make sure that you've got the right word count, at least 1,100 words. That's really not very many words. You can do it. You've got to respond to the prompt. You have to be talking about a profession. You have to be analyzing the accuracy of a profession. Is this really what happens in real life, in this career? Yes or no? And you have to make sure that you've got at least, I think it's going to be at least 3 sources, because you're looking at your primary source. If you've got more than one primary source, then you make sure you use all of them. And then maybe you have at least 2 major secondary sources that you're going to use in your final paper. So that'd be at least 3 total sources on your works cited page. There's also a rubric down here that you can use as a checklist if you like. and this is how I'm going to grade your work. So I'm going to use this rubric as well. It's point-based. All right. If you have any questions about the research proposal assignment, please don't hesitate to send me an email. There are a bunch of samples in the rest of this folder. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are lots and lots. I also this week asked you to read more about synthesis. I created this super silly comic to hopefully explain synthesis, and then there's some sample synthesis matrix here with the articles that I used to create the synthesis matrix. So take a look at that. If for some reason you're using a screen reader and you cannot read information, or it doesn't make sense in table form, so for ADA compliance, I've got a link down here so you can read it as just like paragraphs if you prefer and you don't like tables. However, a synthesis matrix is technically a table. Okay, there is also some information here that I think a lot of people skip, and the reason I say that is because I know that sometimes I will get research proposals with those sample paragraphs, and the paragraph structure is not what I'm asking for. So please make sure that you're looking at these structure paragraph notes in the learning module. This is the structure for a summary or an analysis paragraph, and that's the paragraph where you show the scene and you talk about what that scene suggests, okay? And then also I have information on that second paragraph where you're using your sources to support that suggestion and whether it's accurate or not. So if this is what I saw, well, is that really how professions are? Yes or no? Here's my sources to support my argument. These notes are how I want you to structure those paragraphs. So please don't skip these structure notes. They're really going to be important for you to do well on your, not only on your research proposal, but also on your MLA final paper. Okay, then you're going to get to quiz 3, and you can probably take quiz 3 before you, well, no, you really shouldn't. Don't take quiz 3 before you look at these notes, because quiz 3 does ask that you write paragraphs of these structures. Okay, so if I'm looking at quiz 3, and I'm actually going to go ahead and launch the assignment. It says you have 12 hours to complete it, but I'm pretty sure I removed that. You have lots and lots of time, and if for some reason it kicks you out, then email me and I'll open it back up for you. So I'm going to click begin because I want to show you the instructions. Okay, so this is a super long quiz, and the first thing that the quiz asks you to do is watch the pilot episode of Community, which is a show about community college. I don't think it's on Netflix. I wish that it was because I really want to watch it, but I only have Netflix. This is the pilot episode of Community, and I want you to watch it. And so what we're doing here in this quiz is you are modeling the fact that you know how to do a synthesis matrix and that you know how to write those paragraphs where you show me a sample of, like, show me a scene from the TV show, you explain what it suggests, and then you support whether that suggestion is accurate or not. Now, in this quiz, you're not going to be talking about profession, but you're going to be talking about community college. And so all of you are very familiar with that. So what you're going to watch this pilot episode. It's really funny. It's 25 minutes or something like that. They're short episodes, and I think you'll enjoy it. So watch the whole thing, and then you're going to read these 4 articles. Now, let me click on one and explain to you how quick these articles are. They're very short reads. I would not necessarily consider these to be the most credible and reliable of sources. However, they work really well for this assignment, so that's what we're working with. And so they're really just brief, like, done. They're very quick, easy to read articles, very short. So read through these 4 articles, download the quiz document, and then you're going to go ahead and fill in the quiz document. The first thing the quiz document is going to ask you to do is create a synthesis matrix based on the 4 articles that you read. And so what the synthesis matrix is talking about how each source addresses a specific topic. So what does Community College Myth vs. Fact by scholarships.com have to say about the cost of community college? How about the difficulty of classes? And then you pick your own topic. What does it say about some other topic? What does this article, the biggest misconception about community college, say about cost? What does it have to say about difficulty of classes? What does it have to say about that topic that you chose? What does the pros and cons of community colleges have to say about cost, about difficulty of classes, about that topic that you chose? So that's how you fill in this synthesis matrix. If you find that, like, for example, this final article does not say anything about cost, that's okay. Leave it blank, or say this article does not address cost. It's okay to do that in a synthesis matrix. Now, once you know you've looked at your sources and you've figured out how they're kind of connected with each other, then you're going to, in this little box that I've created for you, write me 2 paragraphs. Try to use as MLA format as you can, and show me in the first paragraph a scene from the pilot episode of Community, and tell me what that scene suggests about community college. Then in the second paragraph, tell me, is that suggestion accurate or not? In the past, people have said things like, well, this scene suggests that community college is just a place for losers. But actually, based on all my source material, that's not true. So community college is misrepresenting, or the show Community is misrepresenting community college. And that's, you know, the first and second paragraph. So that is what you guys are going to do in this assignment. If you have questions, again, this is a very big assignment. There are a lot of things to kind of be thinking about with this quiz. There are lots of things to be working on with this quiz. If you have questions, please, please, please email me. I'm here to help you. I know this is a challenging subject and a challenging way to think about writing if you've never done synthesis before. And really don't stress too much about this concept of synthesis. If you're showing a connection between your sources, you're doing synthesis, okay? I think that covers everything that I wanted you guys to know about for this week. Yes, it does. So like I've said, I think a couple times throughout this video, please email me if you have questions. I am going to save this and pretend like I did it. And your quiz is due on the 21st. So that's Wednesday as usual by 11:59. Of course, you have that grace period, but the due date is the 21st. If you have questions, email me, text me on the Remind app, and I hope you guys have a good week. Bye.